and stuff.
How's my hair look? Is it recording?
Yeah, I think I better check. Yes, it's recording.
Should you face the thing towards us?
Ooh, good idea. We're such amateurs.
I remember my first vlog. Because doesn't it look like it's gonna... We should probably do like a theme song. Here, let me grab your guitar. We just had one sitting right here.
Okay, give me that thing.
Let's do it in the tune of the Brady Bunch. All right, ready? Here's the story. A lovely family.
Okay, that's plenty.
Oh, okay.
We are a couple that is struggling with infertility. After we had tried to get pregnant for like a year, I felt really alone and kind of isolated, and like we were the minority and that I didn't really have anybody to talk to. At that point, we started a blog.
We figured out how hilarious Rachel was.
Oh, stop it.
I mean, I already knew. All 50 of our friends on Facebook.
We felt like that was a really good way of expressing our feelings about infertility, and it also gave us this huge support network of people, and I felt like it was a good thing to do to spread awareness of infertility. In that, I also came across a lot of YouTube channels with couples that were struggling with infertility, and that helped me a lot. So we decided as we move forward, we're going to document our infertility journey, and I only wish we had started sooner.
Right, yeah, so we're gonna do a video blog.
As we sit right now, we're technically like halfway through IVF.
We tried naturally to get pregnant. Rachel was tracking her cycle, and we were pretty sure that we were doing it during the right time frame.
Doing what?
Rachel is constantly researching pregnancy, infertility, health in general. It was probably like month 4, and she's like, something's not right. Like,
I just had it in my mind that just based on statistics, it was going to happen within 3 months. Doctors won't do anything until about a year.
Basically, for 9 months, I had to listen to Rachel saying, something's not right, I need to go get tested. And so you went to the doctor a couple of different times.
Right. I was convinced that like just based on some symptoms I was having that like my progesterone was too low, which it may be, I don't know. So I did go to my doctor at like 6 months, and he gave me the whole spiel about how it can take a year. And it was a couple of months after that that we thought Brad was deploying. And I knew that that was going to be in 3 months, and I wanted to give those 3 months like the best try that we had. And my doctor had mentioned that before we do some expensive tests, we would start something like Clomid. After we found out that Brad was deploying, or we thought he was, and that was 3 months away, I called the doctor and asked if we could go ahead and start the Clomid. So we did that for 3 months, and that obviously didn't work.
It's a huge disappointment every month when it's like a double whammy that Rachel gets her period, because obviously she feels like crap, and then, oh, boom, we're not pregnant either. So it's like a giant middle finger when that happens.
Yeah, it really sucked. I have so many pregnancy tests in the bathroom. I would start spotting like 5 days before my period and never even get to the point where I felt comfortable testing. So I took a few tests here and there, but like I knew our month was a bust well before my full-on period even came. Finding that out was the worst, and it was usually when I was at work and I would just like sit in my office and have a cry in between patients. I don't know, like the more months that went by, the harder it was and the longer it took to get over it.
That puts us at about 11 months, and it was time for me, before Rachel had to get any like invasive testing, it was time for me to go see the doctor. I went and saw my primary care provider, and he ordered a semen analysis for me. It came back that my sperm count was at 2 million. And I was like, yes, 2 million! You know, that's awesome. Well, it turns out normal is 80 million to 120 million. Me only having 2 million, it's basically, there was a 0 chance of conception naturally. And that's when we were referred to our reproductive endocrinologist.
And that was really crazy because in like Atlanta, it can take 6 months to even get your initial appointment. So I called the clinic and they were like, yeah, we have an opening in 3 weeks, or we have a cancellation tomorrow. And I remember thinking like, should I tell Brad that they only have one tomorrow or it's going to be like 6 months because I really want to take that one.
You never told me that. He just kind of went right to it. He's like, your sperm count is so low that our only option is IVF. And
he was expressing like concern about like cancer. He said a few things that were pretty scary.
Right. There should be a reason why my sperm count is so low.
It wasn't like a great feeling that I left with. But anyway, repeated the semen analysis that day.
Yeah. And then those results actually came back a little bit better. My count was up to 60 million, but the morphology was at 2 or 3%.
That didn't change our plan. Our doctor still recommended IVF. He said for like a split second, like maybe we could try an IUI first, but Brad and I have done research on IUIs and it just like didn't seem...
Really, really low percentage.
We jumped right into IVF and that brings us to February. Gosh, it's been 3 months.
Yeah, it feels like 3 weeks.
Yeah, it really flew by. Well, I got an ultrasound at that very first visit too, which was good. Everything looked good there.
Yeah, Rachel is just an all-star specimen of a woman.
Well, so we started birth control. I had blood work my first day of my cycle, and then an HSG where they check your fallopian tubes to make sure they're open, and they were. And that test, like I'd heard from a lot of people, was supposed to be really painful and uncomfortable, and you cramp for the rest of the day. Some people went so far as to say it felt like contractions, which I'm sure depending on maybe your anatomy and...
Well, and maybe your doctor too, because I feel like we have a couple of all-star doctors.
Right, but mine I didn't have any pain at all, and I didn't hurt afterwards either. We came home and had champagne because my fallopian tubes are open.
And then we started you on the meds, right?
Yeah, so then we ordered the stimulation injections that stimulate your ovaries to produce as many big eggs as possible. They
overnighted the meds, which was about $2,300, $2,500.
Yeah, which was good because we thought it was going to be like $2,800 they quoted us. Those went really quickly.
Yeah, we videoed one, right?
Yeah,
we'll put the
link a video in.
Yeah.
And a few pictures. We're so tech savvy. Oh my gosh. Don't forget to click the subscribe button if you want to follow us on our journey, and give us a like, a thumbs up. It really supports our channel.
Hashtag sponsor. Iris wants to say hello. I would literally have to give Rachel a shot in her stomach every morning and then every night.
Sometimes twice in the evenings. They also added in a third shot partially through so that it would prevent you from releasing the eggs or ovulating.
So after we started the meds, usually growth happens in 2 or 3 days.
That's what the ultrasound tech was saying. I went in for blood work and ultrasounds pretty much every other day, and the ultrasound tech said something about like, oh, these are the 2 that we're going to be watching. And I remember panicking because I thought we were going to get like 20.
Yeah, I mean, Rachel had been an all-star. Her follicles looked perfect on her first ultrasound.
I was just like, how are there possibly only 2 follicles? And then 2 days later, there was a third, but only 2 of them were growing or something. So it like didn't even get better.
And that made Rachel super anxious. You know, I knew the entire time that it was just going to take a little bit of time and they were going to develop.
Just meant a few more days of injections.
And then miraculously we went in on a Sunday, and then Rachel, boom, had like 14 eggs.
Yeah, that was miraculous. A few times we were doing something fun and had to like pack the injection in a cooler and take it with us and do it at a bar. I had to do one at work. It was definitely not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, Rachel's really terrified of needles.
Yeah, that was...
But she did great.
By the end, I was able to give myself a shot, which I couldn't even imagine doing when we started the process.
I hope Iris is in this entire video. I guess it was that Monday where you had your ultrasound. The ultrasound tech was like, oh my God, I've never seen this happen before.
Yeah.
Obviously, she had never met Rachel.
They determined that my estrogen level was getting way too high to do a fresh transfer, which is where they take the embryos, let them grow for 5 days, and then go ahead and transfer 1 or 2 of them 5 days after your egg retrieval. My estrogen level got way too high, and so they canceled that and determined it was going to be a freeze-all cycle. And egg retrieval wasn't really that big of a deal either.
No, yeah, you took it like a champ.
Thanks.
And they got 18
eggs.
It was at the egg retrieval, I went off and gave my sample while Rachel was getting the eggs retrieved. our really overpaid babysitter, the embryologist, literally isolated one of my sperms, put them in a needle, syringe, and then injected them into Rachel's eggs, one by one. The first count that we got, 13 fertilized.
No, 13 of my 18 eggs that they retrieved were mature.
That's what it was. 11 of the 13 fertilized.
I've heard people say that their clinics will take the immature eggs, put them in a dish, and then put the rest of the sample of sperm with them and see if anything comes of it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like a little science experiment.
People get actual embryos from that.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
anyway, we should mention that to Dr. Slowey.
Yeah, I'm sure he's never heard of that before.
Doc. I have a suggestion.
You may have invented genetic testing, but have you heard?
And we didn't do it.
Our first count was 11. It dwindled down to this is funny because it's all March Madness theme, dwindled down to the Elite Eight, and then dwindled down to the Final Four. And the 4 is what got frozen.
So we have 4 frozen embryos in a lab in Charleston, and that's where we're at.
You are now up to speed.
I'm on birth control again to calm this down because a normal estrogen level is around like 60 to 100 or something. Mine got up to 7,000. And now I'm on birth control to get everything settled back down. Just under a week is when I take my last birth control, and then I start on estrogen tablets for a couple of weeks, and then progesterone shots in my hiney, starting 5 days before the embryo transfer. So I had a conversation with...
Oh, I was touching my nose.
So I had a conversation... I had a conversation with our doctor, Dr. Slowey, on the phone. Brad had to go to work, so I had to talk to him by myself.
Somebody has to provide for this
Oh,
family.
jeez. With this, like, really important conversation with our reproductive endocrinologist when he's laying out pros and cons to transferring 1 or 2 embryos, I had to, like, frantically take notes and then somehow convey it to Brad and our family.
But I think you did a wonderful job.
Oh, thanks.
He basically said, the ball's in our court, it's our decision. If we want to transfer 1, he said give it about a 55% chance of Rachel getting pregnant. If we transfer 2, that goes up to 75%. Now the scary thing is that just naturally, when you do an IVF transfer, there's a 5 to 10% spontaneous chance of twins. So that means if we transfer 2, there's a 5 to 10 spontaneous chance that we could get quadruplets.
Triplets.
What about quadruplets?
I guess we could, but not 5 to 10% chance.
0.2?
0.00000 something.
Well, we've seen it happen.
And on YouTube.
What about Octomom?
I think they did an IUI with Clomid.
Wait, so an IUI actually worked?
Times 8.
John and Kate plus 8.
I think the same thing. But maybe not. That may have been when they were doing IVF and they were transferring 6 embryos, which they don't do anymore. Our doctor's really conservative, and he said, I like to balance it between pregnant but not too pregnant. You're automatically at high risk if you are pregnant with twins. So they just want you pregnant with 1.
I think you have the body to carry 2.
So Dr. Slowey said that if we transfer 2 embryos, the chance of pregnancy is 75%. The chance of twins is 30 to 40%. He said probably closer to 40. And triplets, he thinks less than 5%.
Twinning!
Triplets would be crazy. They don't want that to happen.
We would have our own reality TV show, I feel like.
Yeah. So, we're doing 2. Yep.
All right.
Our transfer date's May 5th.
May 5th. We'll do some vlogging before then. I think Iris is ready for us to be done.
Want some ice cream?
Yeah, let's go to Dairy Queen.
I love you.
I love you most. Say goodbye, Iris.
We'll see you next time.
You did so good.